Hello folks, today is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. My name is Todor Vladov and this is the 25th episode of Keeping It Realistic. In this show, in collaboration with Chaos, we review some of the more interesting and noteworthy projects shared in the Chaos Campus Facebook group within the last 2 weeks, talking about their strengths but also pointing out their weaknesses and suggesting eventual ways to improve them. We also like to talk about general topics around the group and the visualization field as a whole, especially in the beginning of the show, things like news, events, announcements, but also learning, tutorials, and so on. And we do all of this as a live session so that you can actively participate in the discussion, share your thoughts, opinions, interact with each other or with myself, or simply say hi. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the show. I see Daniel, Helen are here already. That's great. I hope you had good last 2 weeks since the last episode of the show. I certainly did, because the next day after the last show, I traveled to Berlin for the Chaos Unboxed and Arvis Masterclass events. And then as I came back 2 days later, we made a vacation in the northern parts of Germany where I have never been, despite being 20 years here in Germany already, near the Northern Sea, near Denmark. We even spent a day in Denmark. It was a great vacation, so I also hope your time in the last 2 weeks has also been spent in a good way. Amit joined us. This is a very good thing because you'll see later. So now, in the beginning, we'll do what we'll usually do. We'll take a moment to appreciate today's cover image. This is a special one, as you may tell, because instead of 3 renders, we only have 2 and we have one event announcement. This is something that we will be talking about a lot. I have prepared a small presentation. So yeah, this will be really interesting. And as for the other 2, the works were contributed by Moamen and Douglas. For both of them, this is the first feature, so congrats on that. Now, let me show myself again, make this small, and let us quickly breeze through the news and the tutorials that are have been recently uploaded in the group or they have recently happened. Jubair joined us. Hi man, glad to have you on the show. So yeah, last Thursday, we had the Archviz Masterclass with creative lighting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there. But again, I was on vacation, as my dad says, you can have everything. I had a good day still, but 3,800 people have registered for this event, and rightfully so. It's a marvelous piece of knowledge with a great teacher, so it makes a lot of sense to want to be there and want to see this. If you have missed it, the next upcoming events would be in every of the upcoming months, so April 25th, May 23rd, June 27th, and September 26th, which will be the last event from this Archviz Masterclass by Nikos, by Creative Lighting, and Chaos. I shared the link in the comments so that you can have the schedule, so that you can also register if you haven't already. Please don't miss this. It is awesome. It's very informative, very motivating, very inspirational. Absolutely recommend it. Go watch it if you haven't. Now, next, just a small piece of news. Chaos Vantage 2.3 is out with support for V-Ray blend or layered material and for the multi-matte element if you need it for post-production. So great news. There is this video. Claudio posted it in the group. If you want, go take a look at it. And now let's move on, because today's show will be a longer one. There is going to be a lot to talk about. Ricardo says, is it going to be any place to see what the events, the Archviz Masterclass? I think that the ones that were already online that you have missed, you cannot go back and take a look at them. I think there are no recordings out of them, but you can at least watch the next ones. Now, let's talk a bit about learning. Tilena shared a pretty cool tutorial for SketchUp on how to make your ornamental grasses more realistic with the help of dirt material. If you're a SketchUp user, if you use ornamented grasses, go watch this. It's really cool. Next, Konstantinos from Mesh Mastery, active as always. What he did here, something really great. Simon, one of our group members, asked a question on how to make proper holes in geometry in 3D Studio Max and still keep a proper geometry after that. And Konstantinos made this to the topic of one of his quick tutorials, which is just a few seconds, where he shows how to do this properly and in the end still have geometry that you can still work with red topology. Very good solution. You can follow it, and thanks to Konstantinos, of course. He also shared another quick tutorial on how to model the Chesterfield ladder, which is something which is a bit difficult at first glance, but as you can see here, it actually isn't that difficult to make. Also, yesterday, Konstantinos had this live webinar on YouTube. I don't know if you were there. I was there. I didn't really have the time because, again, I had to prepare so much for today. But I thought it was important for me to be there just to support him, and just a plea to all of you: if you have the time, if you have the possibility to support your fellow artists, then do so, because it matters. It really matters. It is real support, which gives you the courage to continue to be strong when you make something. So this support is really a big thing. So if you can spend a bit of your time supporting others, please do so. It really matters. Yeah. What regarding the live, the webinar was good. There was some technical issues with some buffering, but it worked out fine. He showed how to model this keyboard, or at least the beginning of how to model this keyboard. By the end of it, it was somewhere in, let me just remove the sound. So by the end of it, it was at this state, as you can see. So it wasn't something that we finished, and this is from me to Konstantinos. If you're listening, man, it was a great tutorial, but two things. First of all, your mic volume is pretty low, so you maybe need a better mic. And the second thing is that if this is actually planned to be a series of tutorials, then communicate it clearly like this, because I imagine that we'll be doing the whole keyboard. Instead, we did just the first part of it, which is absolutely okay, because you don't want to have like a 5-hour webinar, and I absolutely understand that you want to separate it in different webinars. But if this is going to be the plan, then state it before you start a webinar, just for the sake of clearance. But nevertheless, it was pretty great. Next, we have a tutorial shared by Abdi. It's like a 13-minute video. You may know him as ASR 3D and motion graphics. It's a 13-minute video on how to make a pretty complex pendant lamp, and then how to distribute it along a path using RailClone. If you're not a RailClone user, then just watch it until more or less the middle of the video, so you know how to make the lamp. Then it would be a modeling tutorial for you. If you are using RailClone, watch the rest as well, because Abdi is, let's call him a power user of RailClone, and it's always great to learn from such people. He's very proficient in it. Next, we have a very interesting comparison posted in the group by Abraham. It's about Inkscape versus V-Ray. It's one and the same scene, a SketchUp scene rendered in Inkscape and V-Ray. Go take a look at it, because it's really, really interesting comparison. You can see the strengths and the weaknesses of both engines. And then we have a tutorial by the 4 Pixels Academy. It's one of their sped up how-tos. It's making of this photorealistic exterior scene, but as you can see, it's 2 minutes, so you won't be able to extract really in-depth knowledge from this one, but maybe watching it, you'll be able to see how to approach different situations, so that you know it or have the idea about how to do it in your own works or exteriors later. And last but certainly not least, the Thursday while I was in Berlin, the first Viz Academy webinar in our group took place, and I'm very, very happy about this because, as you know, I am a former student by Viz Academy. I really like their stuff. I'm a fan of Mike and Viz Academy. So to me, it's great that they're in the group. There is a lot of knowledge coming with them to the group. And once a month on Thursday, I don't know, I think it would be the second to last Thursday in the month, we will have Viz Academy going live on both here in the group and on YouTube, I think, and sharing some modeling, texturing, and so on tips. On yesterday's or on this webinar from 2 Thursdays ago, it was about how to make the cliffside terrain for the house that you see here. The model for the house, by the way, you can actually download from the site, from the Viz Academy site, and you can experiment with it and you learn how to do such cliffs. Also stuff about scattering and how to deal with fog and better looking, more photorealistic fog, and how to work smartly as well. Very much recommended. I watched it yesterday. It's a great tutorial. And in general, thanks to everyone who has provided or created tutorials and shared them with the group. It is awesome. We learn a lot from them. So thanks. Amit says he has some awesome tuts on his YouTube page. You're talking about Abdi, I assume. He really does. As art, now I won't be able to 3D motion graphics. Let me see if I will be able to find him. Yeah, he's of course also into motion graphics. He's also making this series about TypeFlow for ArcViz, which I absolutely love. There are already 3 videos out of this series. Definitely go watch them, but there are also lots of other great tutorials there. He's very knowledgeable. Let's profit from him. Oh, Abdi's there, he himself. Hi folks, nice to see you all, and of course Theo, very nice to have you back again. Just finishing the part 4 of the tutorial series and we'll be uploading it very soon. Be patient. Yeah, we're very eagerly looking forward to it, Abdi. These are just great. They take away the fear that some artists have when it comes to TypeFlow. You explain everything very patiently, very clearly, like you know, this explain like I'm 5, this is the way you do it, and this is the way I love when somebody explains things. And I learned a lot from those 3, and even though here it looks like I haven't watched the whole thing, I watched it even twice, and believe me, TypeFlow Ivy will be the only way for me to go in future when it comes to making Ivy. Yeah, but enough about this. Abdi says, Amit says Mesh Mastery and Abdi both rock. Yeah, you do. Wow, Abdi, appreciate that you're mentioning my channel. You just rock. Of course, we all do here. You have excellent tutorials. The common point, Mesh Mastery, Viz Academy. Obviously, you make a lot for the community, and we're all very thankful for this. Now, we come to the special part of today's event where I will actually be showing you a PowerPoint presentation. It was like this that for the last probably 18 years I hadn't used PowerPoint at all, and now in the last month this is the second time I'm doing it. Let's see if it works. Obviously it is not as it should be. Okay, so now we will be talking about the Berlin 3D art meetup, an event that took place 2 weeks ago, but I had to remember to remove myself so that you can actually see something. Please afterwards remind me to blend myself in again. And now let's try it a second time. Okay, let's swap the monitors, and now it must work. So let's talk about the Berlin 3D art meetup. Again, it took place 2 weeks ago on Thursday, March 22nd. And you probably remember that on the last episode of Keeping It Realistic, I told you that after the show, I gotta go pack my stuff because on the next day, Wednesday, I gotta travel to Berlin early in the morning, which I did. let's call this one day one, the hangout day, because I traveled a day earlier than the actual event in order to meet some people in person, hang out with them, mostly Nikos, of course. So yeah, what you see here is how my trip began. Early 6 a.m. in the morning, the Dillenburg railway station. As you can see, it doesn't matter, I'm on my way, but I have my phone with me, and as long as my phone has battery, I will usually take photos because I enjoy it. And also, this is an awesome exercise because, you know, I'm waiting for the train. I cannot do anything better. I have the smartphone in my pocket, so why not use it and take some photos? And as you can see here, I still try to follow the general photographic rules, like my verticals are straight, I have some leading lines, I try to have a good composition and things like this. They're important. This costs you absolutely nothing, but brings a lot of experience actually that you can later use in your work. So I totally recommend it. Wherever you're on the way, just use your smartphone, take photos, it pays off. Okay, let's move on. 6 hours later, I arrived in Berlin main station, Berlin Hauptbahnhof, as it is called in German. And then I took the metro to the hotel to check in. The Berlin metro is a very old one. A lot of the railway stations are pretty historic, as you can tell here by the right photo. So of course I took photos. As I just told you, I really enjoyed it. Next, I left my luggage in the hotel and just went back to the city, to the Brandenburger Tor. This is what you see when you come out of the metro station. First thing you see is the Brandenburger Tor itself to meet Nikos. We had a drink and then we went sightseeing. One of the things that we saw on the way is this thing here. This is the Berliner Dom, which is actually the cathedral of Berlin, the main cathedral. It is a great place. So Nikos and I decided to actually go full tourist mode and actually see it also from the inside. Before I continue, let me see what Amit has to say. Wow, Theo, awesome, was waiting eagerly for more info on this 3D meetup, and you had promised that you'll share more details on it, and you did. Thanks again, you rock. You're very, very welcome. It is a big pleasure for me to share all of this with you. Okay, so this to the left, you see the inside of the cathedral. It is truly, truly impressive to be there. And to the right, you see Nikos, full in his element, taking photos. He always has his iPhone ready to take photos. Doesn't matter if he's on a way to, let's say, an event or to a bar or whatever, he always takes photos. And this is the way you learn. If you don't believe me, at least believe Nikos. Just experiment, just take photos, because this is what you do in the last phase of your visualization workflow. But anyway, so far we saw cool locations, but it was actually the people I went there for. So let's talk some more about the folks that I met this day. So obviously it all started off with Nikos. You know Nikos from the Creative Lighting Masterclass, from as a host from the Chaos Campus live show for I think 3 years already, so I don't think I need to introduce him anymore. Nikos is just awesome. He's a very lively, high-spirited, and also actually quite goofy person, which I really dig, his goofiness especially. The Nikos that you know from the Arvis masterclasses is actually the real life Nikos. This is not a persona or something like a fake role that he plays for the classes or online. This is just him. He's a truly passionate person, especially when it comes to topics like lighting, composition, beauty in general, but also the visualization field and the community. Also, the visualization community, which he truly loves and wants to do stuff for. I mean, it sounds maybe a bit too altruistic, but I talked with him, I saw him. I saw that this is just the truth. So as you may tell, it was a real pleasure to hang out with him. And by the way, he's a really fast walker. This is how he keeps informed, because he's on the way the whole time and he's really fast. You gotta be able to keep up with him. Luckily, I'm also a fast walker, so this was great, but I can imagine that some people may have an issue with that. Anyway, it got even better later on because we met Louis and Johannes from Narrative. You know the guys from Narrative. Narrative is a great studio, quite popular and successful, working on really, really interesting projects. Still, both guys were absolutely, totally down to earth, totally pleasant and fun to be around, as you probably can tell by the photos on their own webpage. Real, true creatives, like nerds loving what they do, to paraphrase Louis himself. It was great to hang around with them and Nikos, and then the evening got even better because next we met none other than Bartosz and Artur from the Common Point. The pic that you see here is from the event on the next day, but here you see them, Bartosz, Artur and Louis, just watching the presentation by somebody else, probably Fabian from the Dizzy Viper, but we'll talk about this later. Now, the Common Point, I don't think I need to introduce. You know them, you know their masterclass and maybe their D2 challenges as well. It's absolutely awesome that they decided to share a lesson of their masterclass on a monthly basis with the community for absolutely free. I myself always watch these courses or those lessons. I actually would have subscribed for their course as a whole if I hadn't already one running and enough time. But I always make sure to find some time to watch their free lessons once they share them. They always do this in the Chaos Campus Facebook group, so if you have missed them, check them out. They are great. There is so much knowledge there. With every video that I have watched from them, I learned something new, even though I could say that I already know a lot. So yeah, pure chivalry on their side. Anyway, as expected, they were great as well. Bartosz is actually the more silent one, but silent not in terms of boring, but in terms of laid back. And once we talk with him, he has incredibly interesting things to say. We had a really long talk about beer brewing. Yeah, out of all things. And Artur, he is like the more, let's say, lively and more curious one. He's talking the whole time. But once again, it's I don't say this in a negative manner. On the contrary, he's just a curious, lively person. He wants to know things. And the topics that we discussed were very, very interesting. And most of the time, that had nothing to do with rendering. Amit just shared the Common Point free videos. Thanks for that, man. This is really, really awesome. Now, here, one of probably the only more private photo that I will be sharing. Later in the restaurant where we met Artur and Bartosz, we also met these two guys here that you see. This in Johanna and Toby. They come from something very interesting. The Helio cloud rendering. So they with them, it was very, very exciting to talk about another aspect of our field and industry, like the technical part when it comes to rendering, online cloud rendering and so on. They were extremely amazing, and who you can see here on the table, this was the group that we had in the evening. This was amazing crowd. So you see Bartosz's hands. Unfortunately, my phone cannot capture like everyone. Johanna, Toby, Nikos always ready for a cheer. Johannes, Louis from Narrative, and Artur's hands here, and myself. It was a great evening. It was. It became even greater later on. And again, probably 90% of the time the talks weren't at all about 3D visualization, architecture and so on, but just about general exciting stuff, which I personally find very, very refreshing. And again, it was a long, great evening together with the crowd, but I won't be sharing any photos because I want to keep the reputation of all people involved as spotless as possible. So now, Louis reading Morse gods, yeah. Norse, it's the Norse gods. Yeah, I think it was a gift from Artur and Bartosz for the Narrative guys. So it was really, really, really great. So let's take a look at the second day, which is the day of the big event. I will remove my pointer here. Sorry for that. So on the next day, I arrived an hour before the Archviz workshop with Nikos was supposed to start. So around noon, because I had promised Nikos to help him a bit. And on the left, you actually see us testing the lighting for the speakers for this day. Of course, first Nikos and then later on everybody else. It's interesting because what we did there is something that one has actually learned as a 3D artist. We did 3-point lighting. So to the left here, not visible to the camera, we have our main light source, a big spotlight to the left. To the right, we have our fill light, which is this small pocket spotlight that Nikos always carries with himself. And honestly, this is a really great idea. This thing is small. It's like maybe as big as a wallet or a pack of cigarettes or something. But he has it always in his backpack so that he can always illuminate whatever happens. He's prepared to illuminate it properly, and I think it's a great thing, and probably in future I'll be doing the same. And of course, then the backlight is the light bouncing here from the plane in the back. So yeah, a good example of 3-point lighting that we quickly set up for the event. And also it was absolutely amazing to just be a part of this process, not just go somewhere where everything is prepared and just sit down and watch, but actually actively participate in this. The amount of photos I took here until we had it right drained the battery of my phone, so I wasn't able to take more photos this day, but that's absolutely okay because there were some professional photographers who took photos like this. But anyway, later you can see that it actually worked out just fine, and you see here Nikos during his Arvis workshop, it works and as it should. While helping setting up the lighting in the studio Cherie in Berlin, I actually got to know Peter Stulz from Xoyo, who was one of the organizers of this event. Xoyo is a big, quite popular German visualization studio, have great works when it comes to ArcViz, to animations. I will share some links with you after the presentation. But yeah, and again, Peter himself was another very sympathetic and down-to-earth person. Really enjoyed just chatting with him and setting up the lighting or preparing all the event with him. Now, as a next, we will take a look at a small video about the Arvis workshop with Nikos, which took around 4 hours. And it was absolutely great to see Nikos in his element, because on the day before here, you see me with Peter setting up the lighting. And later on, you see Nikos doing his presentation. It was truly inspiring to see him work, because the day before I saw him on his goofy side, on his more casual side, and now we had the professional presenting in front of everybody, and he was prepared to answer absolutely every question asked. He was so how do I put it? I don't know. He was so knowledgeable, and at the same time also casual. It didn't feel like a stiff presentation, but for somebody who's passionate, who's lively, and who has much to share and is willing to do so. So this was truly inspiring. Again, not only because of the content of the presentation, but because of the presenter himself. I've said this before, Nikos' art, the way he is truly contagious, and this is a great thing. After the workshop was over with, Beam was officially revealed. And what is Beam? Beam is actually B3AM, and it stands for Berlin 3D Art Meetup. So this is the official name of the Berlin 3D Artist Society, which I think personally is a great idea, because when you give a society a name, it kind of fuses the members of that society closer together, which, given that we 3D artists have no real lobby or something, is actually a great idea and a great thing to do. If you're interested in what this community has to offer, there is a site which is b3am.de or .de, or on Instagram it's b.3.a m, or on Facebook you can just search for Berlin ArcViz. I'll show you a bit more later after the presentation. Then the actual Chaos event Unboxed event started off with Bartosz and Arthur and their presentation about AI. It was very amusing, light-hearted. Here in the back you see Johannes, Louis, Nikos. It was a absolutely amazing presentation because they didn't took themselves or what they're gonna talk about too seriously, which made everything way more pleasant to listen to and see. They didn't only praise AI but show some issues, limitations, some comparisons also. And what I can say is that both guys are great presenters, and this is why this was an awesome start of the event. Next, we had Fabian from the Dizzy Viper, and this is somebody who I really urge you to check out because he has some really, really interesting ideas and concepts about not only about rendering, but also about his whole way of working. Now, first of all, what he does is he does daily, at some point he decided he will do daily render challenges, meaning he will just create a scene in a day up to the point that he can share it online. And this is a great, great way of training because you avoid overthinking, you just do and make things work in a quick way. This trains you a lot already. And the second, and I think most special thing about this dude is that he decided, even though he's very, very popular on Instagram, he has more than 150,000 followers, but he still decided that he'll be working a casual job. I think he works in the hotel of his parents, and only do 3D for projects that he feels like doing. So only projects when a client comes and says, hey, do this for me, and he's like, nah, this project looks stupid or the payment isn't right, he just doesn't do it. He only does projects that he feels like doing because he believes that this gives the best results. And I think this is a great philosophy, especially right now when we have this rough patch in our industry and some people don't know how to get enough projects. Maybe consider doing something else and only doing 3D when it's worth it. As for his work, you may have seen some of his works. Those dirty, abandoned cars are very, very popular. They gave him a lot of popularity online. They were even shared by Supercar Blondie and the Grand Tour and so on. Just search for Dizzy Viper on Instagram and you will find him and definitely follow him. A really, really inspirational dude. Next, we had another great speaker, Mark from Zoe. I'm not sure if this is how the name of his studio is pronounced. Should have asked him as we talked later. By the way, you see this dude in the back. Yeah, I was there the whole time. Mark was very much into AI, or let's say it like this, he was very much into all the means for creating good images, no matter what they are. And I actually like his stance here. He's not like, he's more like, if you can draw nicely or make watercolor, then do so. If you do it with AI, then make it with AI or visualize or whatever. Just find a way to deliver great images by the end. I found this really, really cool. As for his studio, I think that you definitely need to check the Zoe homepage because the works there are great, very realistic, and also the architecture depicted often is really, really cool. Now, finally, we had two speakers from Chaos, Kai on the left and Janne to the right, both extremely sympathetic. Kai is a part of the Inkscape team, and he showed a lot of interesting stuff about Inkscape. Now, personally, I'm not an Inkscape user, and I don't even plan to use it, but watching his presentation, honestly, if I was an architect, an active architect working with Revit or something, I would most definitely be an Inkscape user. As for Janne, by the way, he is in our group. He's a group member of the Chaos Campus, a very charming, intelligent dude and a great artist. He talked about the future of the Chaos projects, from the AI integration to the long-awaited Corona export to Vantage. What I can say is there is a lot going on behind the scenes at Chaos, so stay tuned. And talking about chaos and the behind the scenes, it is now probably the right moment to give a huge shout out to those two ladies here, Nadia and Kalina, who organized the whole event on the chaos side. They did a truly amazing job, really. Everything went smooth, and I think as a guest, as it was supposed to, because the event wasn't only listening to the speakers but also chatting with each other, networking during the breaks or after the last presentation was over. The cool thing was, I'll go a few slides back. So yeah, here you can see. Here you can easily go to the backstage, and the backstage area is the meeting area where people could hang out with each other. You can see the backstage here now lit up, where people could hang out with each other, network, talk, and the greatest thing about it was just everybody was there. Not only the audience, but also the speakers themselves. Now, if you compare this to, let's say, a Hollywood event where, the promis just come and you see them and then they're on the stage and they go and you never see them again. No, everybody was here. So you had this, and this truly diminished this distance that could be there between seasoned professional artists who are popular, who get to speak in front of big audiences all over the world, and the casual artists who are there to see them. Everybody could chat with each other. There was no hierarchy or something. It was just truly everybody was equal, and it felt absolutely, absolutely great. The atmosphere was casual, very, very friendly. As you can see here, there was stuff to eat. There was not only alcoholic beverages, there was also iced tea and water and so on. So all in all, the whole thing was a great success from my point of view. You remember I wasn't a big fan of the Chaos Unboxed online event, and I was very upfront about it. I told this to you, I told this to Chaos, but this on-site event was the absolute opposite. It was truly amazing and actually better than my actual expectations. So huge shout out to everybody who made it possible. And let's not forget all of this, both events, the Nikos Arvis Masterclass and the Chaos Unboxed event, were absolutely free. So what I can say is, after all of this, I feel that my creative batteries are really recharged. I feel motivated, also more knowledgeable, by the way. And I have a ton of great memories, as you can tell by this image, probably some definitely clearer than others. And if you ask yourself now, how all of this is relatable to me as an artist who doesn't live in Europe or something, well, I showed you all of this to inspire you for this part of our job, because what I recommend you to do is to just search for similar events in your area or something which is generally within your reach, and then go meet some people in person, talk to them, connect with each other. Because online communities like what we have here, the VW Art Club or the Chaos Cosmos Facebook group, awesome. But local ones are awesome as well. And if there are none around you, then maybe create them yourself. Remember that everything starts with somebody making the first step. So it could actually be you. And with this, we're at the end of this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I will show myself again. Yeah, here we are. I hope you liked this. I will briefly show you the links that I just talked about in the presentation. I see Douglas joined us in the meantime. Casper as well. Hello. That breaking boundaries between professionals and beginners thing seems to be really encouraging. Yet this is absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed it. Okay, I don't know. My position is, of course, a bit funny in this case because I'm halfway between the fronts, with this show and everything. I'm half by the speakers, half by the audience. But to me, it actually doesn't really matter. I really enjoyed the previous day, but also on the next day, I saw everybody that I hung up with the previous day talking to people from the audience. And I don't think that they all knew each other. It was just that everybody's open, everybody's pretty cool. Of course, among the audience, there were some stuck-up people. You always have people like this who think that if they, attend an event like this, they are something special. But the speakers and most of the audience were really, really great people. It doesn't matter if it's Nikos or the narrative guys or the common point guys, the Dizzy Viper, Soy, or doesn't matter, or the Chaos folks. Everybody was great. And regarding the Chaos folks, Vasilis is here and he says we can compare virtual contact with an in-person one. Go to events, guys. Absolutely. Of course, what we need to say is that it costs time and it also costs money. So these 2 days probably cost me around 450 euros, given that the event was for free. But yeah, it was like 2 days of hotel and also all the travel to Berlin and back. And of course, the evening pastime activities with the other people. So yeah, it costs money, but you can of course reduce the amount of that money. You don't have to go a day before like I did because I wanted to hang out with Nikos. You can just travel for the event. Then you will pay for one night at a hotel and not for two, which is like 100 euro less, right? Also, when you're one day less there, you also won't need so much money to spend for eating and drinks and whatever. So you can keep your costs lower. Maybe you know somebody in this city, so you can, in the city that an event like this takes place, so you can crash at their place and something like this. So it doesn't always have to be so expensive, but oftentimes it simply is. You can just carefully plan things like this. This is why I'm showing you this page, for example, the Beam event page, because here you can see when events happen. And if you plan carefully, because let's say this event was now in March, and in March, plane tickets in March aren't that expensive because it's not main tourist season, right? The next event, as far as I heard, would be sometime in September. So if you plan carefully, you may be able to reach it without spending an incredible amount of money. Additionally, me being in Germany, it took me more time to get from the middle of Germany where I live to Berlin than it took Nikos from Greece to get there, because he flew and I took the train, and actually he was quicker there. Even though we started at the same time, he was quicker to get there. So again, if you plan carefully, if you know your way around traveling, you will be able to reach even events like this. And Kacper, when it comes to Poland isn't so far away. As far as I can tell, both Common Point guys, Artur and Bartosz, came with cars. So you maybe can consider those Berlin events. And for the others, take a look for events that are closer to you, or plan a vacation in a way that you can maybe, a part of it could be visiting such an event in a foreign country. So of course, because it takes time and money. This is something that needs to be said, of course. But I agree with Vasilis. The personal contact is something different. I think we should have both, because not everybody has the time and the money to travel the whole time through all the countries and visit events like this. But so it's great that we have what we have right now with our show or all the other shows that are happening here. There will also be a Video Art Club podcast at some point, which I'm very much looking forward to, the shows in our group. So having events like this is great. I'm actually dearly missing the 24 hours of chaos event, to be very honest. But on-site events are something else. They're something different. They're an addition. So better or best, you have both words. Anyway, let me just show you the Beam site, so you can see here the upcoming events, the location, and some impressions. People are definitely having fun there, as you can tell. Instagram, Beam. Here there is a very nice video that you can take a look at the event. It's like different perspective on everything that I just show you. You see the mood is great. This is, by the way, Artem from Render Art, another great artist who was also co-organizing this event. Here you see the Common Point folks. This interaction with the audience, people were allowed to ask questions whenever they wanted. And yeah, everybody is just having a good time. I didn't see anybody who was just bored or something. And again, coming back to the folks from Chaos, I got to meet, because we see Janne here, I still got to meet somebody coming from Chaos who isn't absolutely pleasant to be around. And I'm always honest about this, but everyone, you remember Emanuela, after that Teddy, she was very briefly there, but I had a few talks with her. She was absolutely great. Claudio is amazing dude. Now the people that I got to see there, Nadia, Kali, and Janne, they were awesome. Kai, even though he's like from the let's say not the Bulgarian side, he's from the German side, from the escape team. Great people, pleasure to be around. It's just really, really awesome. And by the way, hi Mario. Again, you can see also more in this Berlin Archviz page that you can find. Actually, let me just share those links with you very quickly. Before, I don't know if I can share this one, but I can share this one for sure. Yeah. And as for the speakers, Nikos, I don't think we need to talk much about Nikos. You know him very well. But again, it was absolutely amazing to meet him in person. Narrative, if you need inspiration when it comes to even more than Archviz, just cool visualized 3D stuff, then definitely check out the work from Narrative. They are amazing, and the people themselves are just dope. Common point, again, the masterclass and all their knowledge and all their work, it's dope. Artur and Bartosz, it was such a pleasure to get to meet them. This is not an ad or something. I just talked with those people and decided, if you want to, I can show you this and you can look for yourself if this is something for you or not. This is this Helio cloud rendering option that the people there had. Again, this is not paid. We don't do this here in this show. It is just me sharing stuff with you. Xoyo, I told you about them. Great German studio working on some really massive, very, very nice projects. So definitely check them out if you want some good references on visualization. Render Art, I just showed you Artem, another great German studio that may be inspiring to you with really, really good works. Not over the top, which I personally very, very much enjoy. Dizzy Viper, Fabian and his abandoned cars and all the other works that I told you about. As I said, he made this task for himself to do these daily challenges, and a lot of those images that you see here are just something which has been done in a day. They may not be very perfect every time, but you must imagine they're strong images and they're done in only one day. So definitely check him out. It's very inspirational, not only his works but also his philosophy. And last but certainly not least, Zoe, if you want some really good references when it comes to visualizing. You see the images are totally great. The cameras, the angles, it's really, really inspiring. So you can just check the links in the comments. And with this, I think, I hope I managed to give you a bit of an idea of this type of meetups, of the Chaos Unboxed event, of the Archviz masterclass with Nikos, and also of the people and the 3D community. And I hope this inspires you to participate in something like this yourself. Amit says, Theo, still waiting for calendar for events, shows, podcasts, and so on. Yeah, you said it during the Chaos Campus live show where Claudio was there. I don't know what Chaos is preparing. I hope they're doing something with this. I would also enjoy a calendar like this, to be very honest with you. I hope they do something like this. If not, we may try to do something like that ourselves. Just take a look if we can find some kind of online calendar maybe, and just start putting all the dates that we know of in it, so that we can inform each other about such events. I don't know, maybe there is an option like this. I would do a small research and see if this is actually an option, and if so, I will just share it in the group. We can pin it atop of it, and then we can start just putting everything inside. Daniel says, thank you, was great. Glad to hear this. Amit, thanks. Hope they release it soon with these stuffs. I don't know if they're working on it. I hope so. But Claudio is very busy because, he's creating or organizing all those on-site events on different continents. I told you about South Africa, in India, which will probably be relevant to you, and in Japan. So he's on tour most of the time. So I don't know if he has the time to work on this right now. But I'll try to communicate it to Chaos once again. I'll put it down here as a note, so that I maybe write a mail or something to Chaos. You must remember, I'm not a Chaos employee, right? Not yet, at least. Okay, enough of the general stuff because, we have a lot of projects to talk about right now, but I just found it very important to give you a bit of an impression of what was going on with these events, and also a bit more around them than just the event itself, because we're here at Keeping It Realistic, and so we do things a bit differently and the way we like. And with this, let's take a look at the first project for today, which is one shared by Jihan. It's been a long time since we talked about a project by him, so I think now it would be a good time to take a look at one. He writes down interior, 3ds Max V-Ray, Photoshop. And as Amit pointed out in his review down here, this description definitely isn't the best. I mean, it's visible that it's an interior, so this information is more or less obsolete. You have provided the software combination used, Jihan, but everything else is pretty much missing. So the project type, the backstory, if it's like a personal project of yours, what were your goals? What did you want to train, or did you want to have a certain type of portfolio project, or whatever it is, just share it. It's an educational community and everybody profits from this. And if you're not a pro in English, this definitely isn't an issue, because this is not a group about English language, it's about visualization. So just use the Google Translator, or just do the best as you can. We'll probably understand you. As for the images, the presentation looks nice. Now, let me explain why I talk about this, because everybody is saying how Facebook is dying, and I've been hearing this for 5 years now, probably. But what I see is how groups like the VW Art Club or the Chaos Campus are constantly growing, and you see this new Beam event has a Facebook page and everything. So in my opinion, Facebook isn't dying. And as long as you share your work here, this is the canvas that you have, and this is your presentation field. So I think it makes sense to think a bit twice on how you share your work with the others, because you're not there to present it. You're not there if people have questions to answer them. Of course, this can be done in the comments, but the first impression is given or provided by the description of your work and the way your images look like. And this is why in the beginning of my reviews, I usually talk about this topic, how you describe your project and how you present your images. So personally, let's say you have more then you have like 5-10 images, and you have close-ups and main shots and whatever. I think it's very nice if you mix them, visually mix them, like you have a main shot and then you have a close-up and then you have a dark shot and then a bright shot, because it makes your work just visually more interesting. Also, so this is the point where I talk about, varied angles or not. And the other thing is, of course, the visual consistency, because if the images look like too different, but they have the same lighting, as this is the case here, then I think it's something that can be improved. In this case, for example, you see how the image tonality doesn't quite fit on both images. The main shot is more warm and has a bit of a reddish hue to it, while the close-up is more on the neutral side. And this is not great when it comes to visual consistency. Okay. Now with this, let's dive into the project a bit more. General impression, for me, this is one very pleasant looking interior. You're a great, very skilled artist, so this probably didn't take you very long time to do, probably a few hours. But yeah, the design nevertheless is nice, warm, fine color scheme, made out of earth tones. It's soothing, it's harmonious, I like it. What I really want to point out here is the very nice space definition through assets. Because we have a continuous space, it's true that there is a door there, but the door is open. So now you have to define the spaces because they have the same materials, the same walls, the same ceiling. So how you define them now is by the assets that you put in them. And in the corridor here, this area, you actually put clay pots, vases, plates, bowls, all this stuff here. And this is great. And in the same time, in the room, it could be a living room or a bedroom probably, you have piles of books, magazines, these framed arts, and this makes these two rooms be distinct, even though they have a lot of similarities. And this is actually a very nice trick on your side. When it comes to functionality, I have to agree with Amit here. There is a light switch on the wall, but there is no visible lighting. And as Amit says, what happens if this was an evening scenario? What will happen here? It probably won't work without any lighting source, right? So I think that what you can just simply do is add something like a ceiling lamp somewhere here, because it will make more sense technically, and also it will break the monotony of the empty ceiling. Modeling wise, again, you're a very skilled artist, so generally everything is looking fine, good amount of detail to the things. I saw two small issues. First, if we zoom in, you see that the polygons on those vases and bowls are visible. This could be by design, of course, but my guess is that it's just lacking some turbo smooth. And the other thing is, when it comes to the transition between floor and wall, usually it doesn't look like this. Or if you don't have some kind of an element for this transition, this is usually typical for bathrooms. So my recommendation is either have a baseboard or a gap. The gap is the more modern solution, the baseboard is the classic one, but usually it's good to have at least one of those two things. Material wise, as already stated, I very much enjoy the color scheme. You have lots of natural materials combined. You have stone, you have clay, you have wood, and they obviously go together pretty well because they do so in nature as well. The wall and ceiling material is pretty great. It covers large areas, but I see no repetitions on it, which is always good. On the close-up, there is a stitch visible on this vase, and this is something that is very, very easily corrected. You can just take this image into Photoshop, paste it in there, and then use the repair tool on it. I will probably do so now, and it won't work. Or it will. Yeah, you see, it's just an easy 1 second fix. So if something like this happens, instead of re-rendering or something, you just fix it in the post-production. And the other thing here when it comes to the materials is I find this orange red to be a bit too saturated, to be kind of too much of an eye catcher in my opinion. So my suggestion is to just desaturate it. Framing wise, I think both shots work the way they are. Again, here on the main shot, adding a ceiling light, it very much depends on the type and style of the ceiling light. But I think if you add it, it would actually balance out the composition here and make it pretty cool. So gladly try it out. And as for this one, obviously it would be nicer if this higher, bigger plant would be in front of the empty wall and the smaller one down here where it doesn't cover this niche. On the other side, however, this would probably look pretty staged. So this way it's probably more authentic, just not as good looking as it could be. You could just swap them for this shot if you want to. Lighting wise, the main shot, the lighting works, makes for some sweet contrasts. On the close-ups, however, I find the lighting to be kind of too sterile. It's like there is a white light plane to the left of the camera that's not visible to it, and it just provides the light and that's it. So I think that you can maybe experiment more with lighting, because other than that, the project's pretty cool. But gladly experiment with lightings in a situation like this, especially if this is like a personal study of yours. You can gladly try out some gobo lighting. It's always very emotional, very atmospheric. There are lots of free gobos that you can download online. Just make sure to use them with a max light and not with a Corona light, because Corona lights don't support gobos. And with this, let's move on to one of the big projects we have for today. It's one with 13 images, a project by Moamen. It's called Big Belly Fast Food Restaurant in Toronto, Canada. Similar to Chihan, your description can be improved. It's missing the software combination, which is always great for feedback or for others to learn from. And of course, more project info, especially in your case, Moamen. I have seen lots of your Facebook stories and your posts on social media. I know that you're very active with all of those projects. You're not just sitting somewhere in a studio simply visualizing. You're actually developing or concepting a lot of these works, and I've seen you on the construction sites as well, so I know that you have a lot to tell about these projects. So gladly share this in this community. This is more than welcome. As for the image presentation itself, it's pretty nice. It's varied and visually consistent, so I think that we can jump in to the images. By the way, this is another project that has gotten a great detailed review by Amit, just so I've mentioned it. The general impression of it is that you have put a lot of effort into these projects, and it also seems like you really had fun working on this session and producing all these interesting shots, because lots of the shots are actually really interesting. So, and design-wise, I find this to be an exciting mix of elements and materials, which results in a pretty unique modernistic design. The highlight for me is definitely the structured backlit frosted glass wall. It looks amazing. You pulled it off in such a convincing way that even though I think I have seen something like this in a museum or something, but I think that even if somebody hasn't seen a situation like this in real life, when they see what you've done here, they will immediately be able to comprehend all the materials used, how it works, and that it actually looks convincing and authentic, which is pretty great. Now, color scheme wise, the project is a bit of a mixed bag for me, I gotta admit this, because on the one side we have the blue and orange, which are complementary colors, so we have this beautiful color contrast between them. On the other hand, however, blue isn't really the best color for restaurants. And as I saw this was one of my first thoughts, and because I remember learning it during my architectural studies. But to be sure, I actually went online to search on this topic, and I found this page here, which is, interior color choices and your restaurant's message. Pretty cool page, by the way. Let me just share it immediately, because why not? It suggests even some pretty cool color schemes, and not only suggests them, but also explains them, and then talks about all the single colors and how they're used usually. And when we come to blue, I will just read what it says. Blue is a color that most restaurants should avoid. It's not commonly found naturally in food, and it can cause your customers to lose their appetites. Additionally, if you have bright blue walls, the shade of blue can reflect onto your food and make it look less appetizing. Blue reduces customers' appetites, but it makes them thirsty. This is why it's a preferred color for coffee shops, bars, cafes, and nightclubs, but not so much for restaurants. Just so you know. I know this is a fast food restaurant. Maybe the color is meant to have the people just quickly eat and then go away. But again, I don't think that this is the best choice. But yeah. And the second thing, and this is like something that I really cannot live with, to be honest, it's the splashes. I don't like them at all. They kind of remind me of the Nickelodeon logo. I find them to be kind of goofy and comic-y, and the thing is, we can see the wall even with those flower leaves or vegetation leaves, but we don't see those splashes on those cat isometric images. So I think that they were added like in the late project phase, and I don't think this was a good idea. This is just my opinion as an architect, but also visual wise, I don't like them. Moamen says, we use the blue color because the slogan is Greek fusion and the client wants to simulate Greece mood. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not active architect anymore, so I don't know. Sure, blue is definitely, blue and white are definitely Greek colors. We see them here on the ceiling, but and here also on the tables, but there is like a lot of blue. Like if it was just the wall and then the ceiling was white and everything else was white, I think this could have worked. But the way it is now, what this article describes happens here. The blue will project onto the food, and when you see the food with blue on it, it doesn't look appetizing and tasty anymore. You can try it for yourself at home and see if you like the food when it has a blue tint on it, and you'll see that it's not I saw the menu here, that it's not so good looking anymore. But yeah, maybe a matter of taste. Just wanted to point this out. Anyway, let's talk about framing. We'll just go through the shots one by one. Folks, today's show will probably be about a bit longer because we had this special presentation and the talk afterwards. So just bear with me, please. Okay, starting with the first shot. Katzpa says, in my opinion, these orange splashes make nice complementing accents, but maybe something like LED splashes boundaries could be better. Yeah, the orange is good. The orange is the complementary to the blue. This is great. I don't like the splash form. If it was circles, because we have this circular form many times here, we have it also on the ceiling. If it was circles, for example, I think that it would look fine. The splashes, they're just so comic-y. I don't know. This is just my thing. Moamen says, I know you have a great point of view and I totally agree with you. Glad to hear that. You don't have to though. It's just my opinion here. I'm just always honest. Okay, back to the first shot. We're looking upon this awesome frosted glass wall. Nice framing, nice depth of field in the foreground. Some issues here, maybe a bit of an empty foreground here, but you have those markings on the floor, so I think this is okay. Now, the main issue I have here are those sitting groups here. First of all, because they look very copy-pasted. You have one sitting group and then you have 3 instances out of it. Just jiggle around with the positioning of the chairs, of the tables. Let them not be so orthogonal and so perfectly ordered, because this looks artificial. And in real life, even though the people who have this restaurant, I'm sure they will be very tidy people, but still they won't be going with a ruler every day and making sure that everything is like perfectly neatly ordered. And the second thing is that the sitting groups, especially these two, are very like inconveniently close to the glazing, up to the point where using these 2 chairs will be very uncomfortable. And when it comes to the glazing itself, you have this door here. This could be a fire exit. I cannot tell by the plan. This is this situation here. This could be a fire exit, but the way it is now, it looks like a regular door, and you have all the sitting group, which by the way, for me, for the next 13 or 12 images will be sitting group number 1. It's just blocking it, which isn't a good visual message. Other than that, good shot. Second, we have the view from sitting area 1 to sitting area 2. Good framing, beautiful color contrast here. We see it very nicely, the orange and the blue. They look great together. What I'm missing a bit here is the depth of field, like more depth of field on these sitting elements in the front. And also you see here the bump on the wood is quite strong, so I would reduce this if I were you. Next, we have the first of my favorite shots. I really like this one. It's view from sitting area 2 towards the counter and the logo here and the menu. It's a very cool, very creative shot. The angle is very interesting, and the combination of the depth of field and those nice reflections and refractions on the glass are really cool. So I am a big fan of this shot. I really like it. Next, we have the sitting area 1. As you may imagine, I really like this shot. I have it on our cover for today's episode. It's an almost monochromatic shot if it wasn't for the 2 splashes, and as you can tell, the splashes bother me. If without them this would be a very great shot, but with them I don't like it. But as you're in the comments, please let me know how the splashes came to life, because again, they are not a part of the of the plans that we get to see. Next, we have a central perspective on the counter, which is very classic motif when it comes to a gastronomy shot. We have good leading lines on the ceiling and on the floor. That's pretty cool. And also a nice natural gobo effect when it comes to the lighting. That's pretty cool. Lighting wise, I think it could have been a bit cooler if this area was a bit more pronounced, a bit more exposed. Maybe, but other than that, it's quite cool. Moamen says it's an existing door and will not be used anymore. We couldn't change it. Some regulations, just one door for the rest. Okay, you had to deal with it. It is as it is sometimes. Okay, let's move on. We have this other very nice shot, which is from the sitting area number 1, looking towards the counter. It's another cool creative shot with a very nice feeling of depth to it. It's both informative and emotional. Like this one isn't really emotional, it's more on the informative side, while this one is informative and emotional. It provides a lot of info about the architecture. We can clearly see the ceiling structure, the pendant lamps. We can also see some materials like the grid behind the logo. We see the menu, and it's just exciting to look at. On the negative side, maybe the composition could be a bit better balanced, but that's a good shot. Next, we have a sitting area 2 with another unusual shot facing the logo. Here, it's a cool image. It's very lively due to this contrast between the orange and the blue, once again. Next, we have the sitting area 2 in detail. I really like the framing on this one. What I don't think works here is the focus, because it seems like the focus is more on the table which is behind, which is further away from the camera, and I think the focus should have been more on this table here, because it's closer to the camera, it's more prominent. And also, if I were you, I would have put something that this restaurant sells on this table to give the impression of somebody actually using it. Next, we have another very interesting shot from the counter facing sitting area 1. Good framing. As Amit pointed out, the outdoor area is a bit bare bones, so maybe you can just take a ready-made house or whatever, some urban element, and then put them on the outside so that it doesn't look like your model ends with the outside area of the restaurant. I know if you concentrate mostly on the interior area, it's very difficult to find the time and have the motivation to also do the exterior. But for a shot like this, you can just put a 3D ready-made set or maybe a backplate somewhere here so that it looks more urban, more lively. Irina says, hi, how to avoid round objects distortion in front of the image. I don't know which image you refer to, Irina. I mean, if you take a look at this one, if your object is more towards the center of the image, then there is little to no distortion. If it's towards the edges, the distortion is larger. So don't place round objects towards the edges if you want to avoid distortion. Next, we have another shot from counter, this time facing sitting area 2. I like the depth of field here a lot. The shot also has generally pleasant looks. The focus area is a bit unclear, and also this time you have covered the Y from belly, which makes the restaurant have a different name this time, because it's Big Bell, which means something entirely different than Big Belly. Other than that, it's cool. Next, we have this lighting shot, which I really like because it's thematizing a technical aspect of this project. And when you already have so many shots, then why not also show a bit more technical aspects of your work or of the concept? There is an issue, however. You see how the cables don't connect to those canopies, to the mounts. It's also visible here. The two lamps to the left, they have no issue with this, but this one seems to have been moved slightly, and then you rendered it here and here in a wrong way. So you gotta fix this. And also, I mean, if you have this canopy up here, the canopy is where the cables of a lamp are hidden. I'm working with my team on a lamp project for 1 year now, so I'm very into this topic. And if you have the canopy here, on the flip side here, there should be a hole and some cables coming. So this wouldn't be very pretty to look at, but the way it is depicted now, it's not really technically correct. Let's be honest. Maybe that's too much of a detail on my side. Next, we have this wall detail and logo shot, which I really like. It's great framing, and the wall tiles, even though slightly repetitive, look amazing. And you see how this roughness and this bump that the tiles have are a great example of the importance of good textures, because without them, this would have been a very bland and boring shot. But with those cool, realistic, authentic, blurry, wavy reflections, it's suddenly very, very authentic, very cool to look at. And with this, we are at the isometric and side views and the floor plans. Personally, I very much enjoy graphics like this. They're very pleasant to look at for me, maybe because I'm an architect, but they're also very informative, and the way you do them, they're really, really good. It's like probably the third project of yours that I see having such graphics, and I totally dig them. So yeah, in conclusion, really nice work. You're very motivated, which shows with the amount of shots alone, and how you want to experiment, which is great. For improvement, I would just advise you to do some more in-depth, because I'm sure you have already done it, but do some further or more in-depth reading when it comes to composition, framing, and general photographic rules, so that your compositions improve and get even better, and you can make the most out of your scenes. And yeah, you can gladly, of course, as a help, you can also analyze how artists that you admire, that you consider to be very good, how they approach similar situations than the ones that you have in your work. And with this, we can move on to another behemoth of a project by Douglas. Let me just take a look at what Mario says. The object covers too much. Yeah, you probably refer to this one. And Amit says the emotional shot you mentioned earlier, that's what Irina is asking. Moamen says thank you so much for the objective criticism, whether of the design or visualization. Okay, and yeah, you're very welcome, Moamen. It was a pleasure. I really like your projects. Just do read a bit more about composition or experiment more, but following some rules. And I think this would bring your work to the next level, because you already have a great base to work with. Okay, emotional shot. Which emotional shot are we talking about? The emotional shot you mentioned earlier, that what Irina is asking. Yeah, which one? Describe it for me, please, because this one. The round one, or which I have to wait a second until those 15 seconds until what I say. From lower to the menu card. So this one is from lower to the menu card, or this one, yes. From lower to the menu card. With the two, with the two yellow tabarets. Okay. Sometimes we gotta Which one? This one. This one? If it's this one, I personally don't find that the round objects are very distorted in this case. Of course, you always... No, not this one. Oh, man. Yeah, but it's this one with the 2 yellow tabarets. Okay. This one. This not emotion. This one, Irina? Yeah, this is, of course, there is this, not again, okay. Okay. Yes, I don't know, I was scrolling the whole time, I don't know when you said yes. Oh, Amit. No, but Amit, this is not the shot that Irina is talking about because it doesn't have two yellow tabarets, man. Sorry to say this, but this is not it. Oh, and now I lost the window because I clicked on this. Now I lost the window. Let me see. If I can go back to your comments. Oh, come on. Window, let me see. Okay. No, 2 yellow chairs on both sides that are distorted. Maybe Irina should really share the link. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Okay. This is what I actually wanted to find. Not this one. Okay. Yeah, Irina can. What the hell is this? Come on, Theo, what are you doing, man? Okay, yeah, maybe Irina can share the link. In the meantime, I will move on to Douglas so that we don't have a 3-hour show. And Irina, I will gladly answer your question. Just give me a link to the shot that you're referring to. Maybe paste it in the Chaos Campus and the Keeping It Realistic messenger group, or just comment on it under the Moamen's work, and then we'll answer your question. But now let's move on with Douglas. With a great interior study, actually, let's hear what he has to say about it. Hello everyone, I did this practice based on the architectural space provided by Tilima course. However, all the interior design was done by me to make it more interesting. I hope you like it. It is worth emphasizing that this is my first serious render project in Corona since I came from V-Ray and SketchUp. If you want and wish, you can see it on my Instagram, leave a follow, I really appreciate it. So, great description, Douglas. Everything sounds really exciting. Gladly share more of it. It would also be pretty cool to see the initial space that you got to work with, which was provided by Tilima, so that we know how you changed it. As for the image presentation, it's nice, but given how many shots you have, because this is another project with 13 shots to it, given how many you have, I think you could have mixed them a bit more to make this preview a bit more interesting. And now we'll jump into the shots and take a look at them. And by the way, this is the third project in a row with a long review by Amit, so big up to you, mate. Okay, let me take a look at something. If we found this shot, finally, this is the shot. This is the shot. Yes, but what I said in the previous shot was exactly what I was what I meant and what would be the solution here. You see how you have those two small chairs towards the edge of your image, and towards the edge is always where the biggest distortion, the heaviest distortion happens. So if you want to avoid it, at least place only one chair, maybe somewhere in the middle here, or of course you can go with a lower FOV value or a higher focal length value. The higher the focal length value, the less the distortion you have, but also the less you see out of your image. So there is always a price you have to pay. Either you have more distortion. If you want to avoid it being that visible, try not to have objects towards the edges or the corners, or use a very high focal length value, but then you have to maybe use camera clipping and place the camera very, very further away from the object that you're actually trying to capture. So there is, again, always a price that you need to pay. So yeah, that's it. I hope this answers your question. Now let's move on to Douglas' work and take a closer look at it. First of all, the general impression, similar to Moamen, you were very passionate in making the most out of your work, experimenting, creating really good and interesting shots, and I totally appreciate this. And I think you also did a great job in doing so, especially when it comes to the lighting, because to me this is the biggest quality of this project. Design-wise, the scene feels natural, it feels relatable, it's not over-stylized or over-styled or over the top like a lot of things that we visualize tend to be. I think this would feel authentic to most viewers out there. Also, function-wise, everything seems to make sense as well. Modeling, when it comes to modeling, the modeling is fine. It has a lot of nice, convincing little details. It's also great to see how lamps and some appliances are actually plugged in. As you can see here, the lamp and the kitchen shot, you are able to see how the SMAC refrigerator is also plugged in. It's great. It's probably one of the first times since I'm a 3D artist that I see somebody actually take the time to plug in a refrigerator, because usually this is something that happens behind the refrigerator. So this is definitely one of the first times. Really enjoyed this one. The assets that you have used, mostly good. Also, the randomness of the assets is something that adds a lot of authenticity to your scene. Just take a look at the tableware here on the dining table, or the dishes to wash in the sink, or let's say the very first shot or the second one, those slippers that are just randomly placed in the living room. This adds a lot of authenticity. Some assets, however, don't have such a good quality. I think you know it by yourself, but this beer and chip combo doesn't really look good, especially for close-ups. I wouldn't recommend it. And also the grouts on the parquet, for my taste, they're way too big. I always tend to criticize this. This is just my thing. Material-wise, the materials look quite good. The color palette is quite pleasant to me. It's not over the top, but still it uses different tones of brown, beige. There was this one shot where it was very nicely visible. I think it was probably the very first one. Yeah, this one. So we have different nuances of brown, beige, and ochre tones. And then we have the desaturated blue to have this complementary color contrast. It's more or less the soft version of what we just have with Moamen's project where there was this saturated blue and orange, and here we have the desaturated version of it. It's really pretty. The lighting, the day lighting, I would say does the job. It illuminates the scene in a nice way. It's not especially atmospheric. The evening lighting, however, is the true highlight of the project. It adds just so much emotion, makes the shots so interesting that I want to see the whole project just in evening mood. I don't need a day mood at all. Now let's maybe take a look at the shots one by one, starting with the first one, and analyze them. First, we have this angled view of the dining and living room areas with some really good framing to it. We see the relationship between those two spaces. There are some issues here, maybe the slight overexposure on the bright areas of the floor and the sofa. You can easily fix this with stronger highlight compression in the video frame buffer, the tone mapping. Just go with a value up to 7 and it should fix it. Or additionally add the ACES value atop of it if it's still there. Next, we have this central perspective of the living room. It's classic framing, it works, and it's it's just a good shot. I don't know what to say so much to it. The cropping is good, the image format is right. In comparison with the other images in this set, it's not that exciting. I gotta admit this. Maybe an evening shot would have been better, because there are so much more interesting and exciting shots here that this one kind of falls flat, even though it's actually good. But yeah, gotta compliment all the small details once again. You see those small pots here, and the slippers, and the book, and the plugged-in lamp, and the stuff here, and the other plugged-in lamp. This just makes a difference. So this needs to be complimented, definitely. Next, we have the first of my favorite shots, the central perspective of the dining area in the evening. We have wonderful light and shadow play. Which makes the scene feel so real, so natural and lively. We have this gobble effect. Just take a look on the ceiling and here. This is amazing. We have beautiful tonal contrasts, which are visible here, for example. You see how the background is dark and this plant here is bright, and we have it here and we have it here once again. This is always beautiful to see. It's just beautiful contrast. We have also great attention to small details. You see the girl on the balcony has like this pinkish shirt, and it has the same color as the light here. These are small details, but they actually make a difference. And additionally, it's just a good composition. So this is an awesome shot. No wonder this is your title image on Facebook. Next, we have an angled shot from the living area with some parts of the dining area. It's a nice image. Maybe it's not very favorable when it comes to showing the interior design, because it looks kind of full and kind of cramped, which in fact it actually isn't. Next, we have this central perspective of the living room, and you see, if we compare this to this shot, right? This shot is absolutely okay, nothing wrong with it, but now take a look at this one. This is just so emotional, and it's another wonderful example of the importance of lighting, because not only does this look realistic, but it also gives your image a very, very unique touch, and then your images and your work manages to stick out in an ocean of renders that potential clients are confronted with on a daily basis. People see tons of images like this. This is just the truth, but they don't see a lot of images like this, so obviously this will stick out. So gladly tell us a bit more about how you created the lighting on this right lamp. Is it an IES profile or a refraction plane or a combination of both? I'm really curious, because it looks amazing. Now, also it has great color contrast between the cold light to the right here and the warm light coming from the left, which adds some dynamic to an otherwise static scene. And also we have this natural framing, this dark sides and foreground, which makes this scene here stick out more. So this is really amazing shot. Next, we have the close-up on the coffee table. Background looks pretty realistic, foreground unfortunately not so. The object in focus is just not a very realistic asset. Actually both objects, I don't even know what this is, but it looks kind of weird, especially with this light inside of it. And also the framing here feels kind of off, because the objects in focus, the objects of interest, are kind of pretty close to the edge here. I tried extending the shots. It got a bit better this way, but yeah, you just need to exchange those two assets. For the day shots, this one is actually okay, but this one just isn't a good one. I don't know where you have it from. It could also be from the Cosmos library, but not every asset from the Cosmos library is immediately a wonderful one. Some of the assets are good, but you have to use them in the distance, and other ones are you can also have close-ups from. Yeah, but that's it. Enough for this one. Let's move on to the next one. The angled kitchen view. I really like this shot because it's a great way to introduce the kitchen and its positioning in relation to the living room that we already know from the previous shots. Also, the color contrast here makes the kitchen stick out more because we have all those cold lights around it, and the kitchen is then more on the neutral or even warm side in this area here, and this is great. Again, this set here is a bit of a pain in the butt because it's not very realistic, first of all, and also the colors of it. You see the sources here, they have a very saturated color palette which is foreign to everything else here in the scene, so you really have to avoid things like this. Next, we have the central perspective of the dining area and the kitchen, which is a very nice shot, really pleasantly composed. It's in halves. Some really good depth to it. The only issue I have here is that the kitchen floor is overexposed. I'm not sure if the right thing to do would be the highlight compression. Maybe you just need to reduce the intensity of the light source in the kitchen in this case. Next, we have a close-up of the dining table, which first thing that immediately comes to mind here is the wonderful framing. You have great cropping and aspect ratio. First of all, it adds horizontal dynamic to an otherwise, again, very static shot. And secondly, the depth of field is on point. And you see what you did here. You have this area that you want to concentrate on, the table and the table stuff on it. But behind it, there is this rack with all of the stuff on it, which would obviously be distracting. So what you did here, first of all, you chose this framing, and with this framing we can concentrate more on this area rather than the huge rack behind it. And secondly, you used depth of field to focus on this area and blur out a bit the background, and in the end, despite the rack with all the stuff on it, we can still clearly see the table and the tableware on it. This is amazing. This is how it should be done. Then you again changed the aspect ratio for this kitchen shot, the first side of the kitchen. It's a good, informative image. It has a pleasant lighting to it. Personally, I find this ceiling area here to be a bit monotonous. What you can do, given the natural and relatable character of this apartment, it's not one of these catalog-like apartments where everything's perfect. You can just put some clay pots or some plants atop of the cupboards here. This will give the whole thing an even more lived-in feeling and will cover some of the empty and monotonous areas here. Also, you can add some diffuse lighting along the cupboards, the back sides of the cupboard shining up, the same way you have it here, just mirrored upwards. It will also make everything more interesting, especially if you combine it with those clay pans or pots and some plants, because they will throw some shadows and this will become very, very interesting. Next thing which bothers me a bit here, the balcony door looks more like a door that you would use on an interior and not on an exterior, which the balcony is. And also this is like the brightest spot in the kitchen. This is where the viewer concentrates immediately after opening the image. And this is the wrong message here. So maybe it should have been an evening shot like you did with the next one. Here we have another great example of exciting lighting, because we have this great contrast between the cold light coming from the living room, this pinkish bluish light coming from the living room, and the warm light on the kitchen counter. We have this beautiful shadow play here or down here. And also what I really enjoyed, this enhances the realism a lot, is how not all the lights up at top of the kitchen counter are the same. We have this LED strip or whatever this is, which has a warm white to it, and then we have the exhaust hood light, which is more of a spotlight instead of a linear one, and it's more neutral. And this here, you see how the warm light is here, and then the more coldish or neutral light is next to it. This makes things just look more realistic, more authentic. The issues here is the right wall is pretty empty. You can maybe fix it with something like a kitchen card, mobile kitchen card that you just place there, and then maybe some wall art atop of it or some light there, something like this. And the footsteps on the floor, personally, a kitchen is a sterile space, which should be actually clean because food is prepared there. So having footsteps here doesn't make much sense to me, and I would rather not do it if I were you. Next, we have the sink close-up. beautifully framed shot with great depth of field, nice imperfections on the sink material and also on the wall tiles. If you take a look at the wall tiles, they're not perfectly plain. Some are a bit back, some are a bit forth. This just makes everything feel more authentic, more realistic. The drying glasses here and the stack plates look very authentic. They add a lot of realism. The clean dishes in the sink, however, don't make much sense to me. Either they should be dirty, so they need to be washed, or just maybe leave the bottom one so that you just give the impression of a plate being there and remove the other two. This is just my advice here. And the last shot, it's the close-up of the cooktop. It's a really great shot with awesome focus, really, really sweet lighting, nice composition in general. Maybe as an idea, this is not something negative, this is just an idea, maybe add some steam coming from the teapot. And with this, we are through with this awesome study. Great one, really, Douglas, really inspiring, especially when it comes to the lighting. I absolutely hope that it motivated everyone looking now or the recording later to experiment more with lighting in pursuit of creating strong and most of all unique images, because you want to stick out. You don't want to be just one of the millions images out there. You want to be the one that sticks out so that people notice you and actually probably want to work with you. You profit from this, believe me. Okay, enough. I see Moamen has said, thank you very much for your interaction with the project, for criticism, questions and advice. Again, this is what I'm here for, and this is absolutely my pleasure, dear Moamen. Next, we have Nico with another project with many images. This is just how it turned out today, but I picked the projects on how noteworthy they are, how interesting they are, and both Moamen's project and Douglas' ones are very interesting. Nico's also as well. So I just gotta talk about them, and even if it takes a bit longer, I think we can all profit from it, I hope. Let's see what Nico writes about this reproduction. Oh, says, hello folks, hello Theo, he joined just on time. Starting a project or figuring out where to begin is one of the biggest challenges, very true, so I decided to seek inspiration by taking photography outdoors. If you just joined Nico in the beginning, I had a presentation about my trip to Berlin, the Chaos Unboxed event there, and the Archivist Masterclass with Nikos. But I also showed a bit of my trip, and this is exactly what I said. I just, on my way to Berlin and in Berlin itself, I just took lots of photos. I have my phone with me. I just take photos and try to follow the same rules that I follow when I do my commercial work or my private exercises when it comes to 3D. This is a great exercise, and I mean, if you enjoy it, you can of course have your professional camera and explicitly go out to take photos, but most of us have smartphones in our pockets. Just use them. Just maybe next time if your current one it doesn't have a good camera, maybe next time concentrate more to get one with a better camera, and then just start taking shots. And it's not an issue if you take 10 shots of the same situation until you figure it out. You don't have to know everything and you have to ace it the first time. Just take 10, 15 shots and see which one lands, which one is the good one. And for the next time, you will know better. Anyways, afterwards, I opted to engage in a recreational project I found on the internet. My goal for this project is to recreate a scene as closely as possible to the reference with personal taste. Additionally, I included some close-up shots to enhance storytelling. It's done in 3ds Max, Cosmos Library, Corona, and Photoshop. I attached the reference photo in the comments. Very good presentation. We know your goals. We know the software combination that you used. For more convenience in future, instead of sharing this here, maybe just share a link to the original, to the reference project. It's just more convenient for everybody who wants to see it, because in this time I had to take this photo and take it to the Google Lens so that it tells me which project this is from and so on, and we can skip all of this in future. Image presentation looks good. It's visually consistent. The angles are mostly varied, even though they are mostly around this kitchen area, but that's okay here. So yeah, let's take a closer look. Maybe first we'll check the original reference. this is it. So I think the switch between the two images tells us a lot already, but let's take a peek in the, oh, sorry, this is still yours. You see, I cannot even distinguish it anymore. So yeah, let's take a look at this whole, this is the kitchen of the Three Little Pigs house in Madrid. It's a very interesting project covered in cork on the in and outside. And actually very, very, very beautiful spaces here. Just take a look at this. This is just awesome, if you ask me. But yeah, we don't have time to take a look at more. Here you see the kitchen when these cork room divider walls are put closed. You have an image like this also, and this is like this, let's say, the original reference for your project. So I think we can all agree your outcome is really close to the original reference. You've put a lot of effort into this reproduction and it definitely shows. Now let's take a brief look at the single components of your work. First, we have the modeling, which to me seems pretty good and precise with fitting assets, definitely, and a nice amount of detail. You can see something like this. Let me go here. You see how this is not just, as a lot of artists do, just make it one block. No, this is done as it is done in real life, where you have different areas of wood that are constructed together to build whatever, this kitchen in this case. So this is pretty great. Yeah, let's just go back a bit, talking about the issues. Here we see the first issue, the oven is clipping through the back wall, probably, of the kitchen here. This is easily fixed. You just have to remove the back wall there. And going back to the very first shot, you miss this guiding rail on the floor and the ceiling, because these divider walls are actually moved on rails. As you can see here, there is a metal rail on the floor. You see it on the reflection. And this technically makes sense because it's not only a gap, it's an actual rail where the wheels of those walls can be pushed in both directions. Material-wise, it looks very good, especially the wood. I'm a big fan of the wood. You can see it here. It looks amazing. Very good material. Now the painted kitchen back wall, which is this one, is too uniform. So what you can do, two easy and quick fixes: add a subtle noise or dirt map to the material glossiness and maybe give it a slight bump structure, but a really slight one, because it's only a painted wall. It's not like a real structure, but seeing it like this is kind of unrealistic, because in real life, flat surfaces are rarely this perfect. Okay, next, let's talk about the lighting and the post-processing. I would say that your final outcome is really close to the original. You have this soft, neutral lighting. You even have a better background, if you ask me. I like your background more than the white that we have here. There is a slight difference in the color bleeding hue. In your case, you see you have more reddish here, a warm tone, whereas the original has a more greenish and more colder tone here, but this is not a big deal and you can easily adapt this in the post-production. And I think we can now just go through all the shots one by one, starting with the main shot, which has a great framing, but this is like exact replica of the original, so it was given, and I think that we can just move on. Next, we have the angled view of the kitchen. I think this was also one of the shots which were originally part of the session that we saw here on Arc Daily. Nevertheless, I think it's a great shot, a good angle, an interesting one. Still, I don't know why the original photographer decided to do it like this, but to me, the framing on the right side is kind of needlessly cramped. So if it was to me to make the framing for this shot, I would just extend the cropping to the right and do something like this. I think it feels less cramped and generally feels better. You're in the comments. Gladly let me know what you think about this version. Let's move on to the next shot. This is the close-up on the faucet. Great shot, could actually be a product shot even. Again, just improve the looks on this painted wall and it would be better, and maybe extend this painted wall a bit up so you don't have this white border here. Next, we have this angled kitchen shot. It's another nice angle and it's more or less a similar issue. What I had with this one is that the kitchen barely fits, and it's needlessly cramped in my opinion. So again, you can extend it to the right if you feel like it. Next, we have the close-up on this vase, another very beautifully composed image of yours. I don't know if this was an original one or you came with it on your own, but it's really good. The depth of field, very sweet, blurry foreground, the focus is clear, and just overall nicely balanced. Here, what you did, or the chamfering shows, and it makes a huge difference. Don't have sharp edges. Always chamfer your edges, especially when it comes to close-ups. It immediately shows that it's a rendering when you see those sharp edges. Even materials like marble, who usually have sharp edges, or stone, stuff like this, they also need some slight chamfering. It's just that in those cases, the chamfering is slighter than it is, let's say, on wood. Next shot, the angled shot of on the fridge side of the kitchen, similar to the previous two shots, which were angled like this. This one is very cool, very informative. Maybe again a bit cramped on this side. Maybe it's just me. Who knows? I tried extending it a bit with generative fill in Photoshop. Personally, I find framings like this better when we have a bit more of this white on both sides, so this object has more room to breathe. But maybe this is also a matter of taste. Oh, I see Arthur joined us. How are you, my friend? In the beginning of today's show, you gotta really watch the recording, because I made a presentation about the Berlin event from 2 weeks ago, and I talk about you and Bartosz and everybody else, so you may find this interesting. Now back to Nico. Here we have this close-up on the toaster, a good one. It's visibly important and evidence how important it is to have good assets and good materials, because they make the difference. Take a look at the imperfections on the fridge. Take a look at this awesome wood, this awesome asset, toaster asset. It just makes a difference. If you want photorealism, you cannot achieve it with poor, unrealistic assets, bad materials, low poly, and so on. It just doesn't work. It works from a distance, but not on close-ups. The only issue here is that the toaster looks more like a deco item in this case. It needs a cable and needs to be plugged in somewhere to actually make sense as such. Then we have the kitchen island shot, which is a very architectural shot. Let me explain a shot like this, because some people may ask themselves, well, what is this thing about? It's about emphasizing certain architectural topics, such as architectural detail, materials, material combinations, and so on. Here, in this case, the topic is the concrete materials, the kitchen counter design, in combination with the bar stools. And an interesting thing here, you see how massive this concrete foot of the kitchen island is, and also the counter itself is quite thick, but then you have the most delicate bar stools ever, and this is a contrast that is obviously wanted by the architects or the planners of this interior design, and I think it's something pretty cool. Then we have the main shot, more or less once again, just with this divider wall being put closed. Just one of those divider walls. It's actually 3 pieces of them, which make the kitchen to be an absolute separate space. So yeah, same as the first one, this one was given, so the framing works. Great stuff. And all in all, great job at recreating the kitchen of the Three Little Pigs house, Nico. My suggestion, actually, if we come back to this project, is to go further and recreate some of the other rooms. You see, there are rooms that look architecturally really, really cool, but don't have tons of detail. Something like this, for example, or I think I saw a bathroom somewhere which also looked amazing. Great thing to recreate, to exercise on. So a definite recommendation. Keep working on this project. It's a great pick to recreate. Or just take a look at this kids' room. Another thing that you can recreate, or this bathroom, there is a ton of stuff that just asks to be reproduced by someone who pays so much attention as you do. So my recommendation, do it. Yeah, this is, by the way, the kitchen when those divider walls are put closed. Now let me check the comments and move over to Abbas. Amit says he did not, but we are ready to see them. Arthur? No, wait. Arthur said, we'll do so only if you show all the embarrassing photos. No, I didn't. I wanted to keep your reputation. Okay, anyway, Abbas. Abbas, it's been a while since we talked about a project by Abbas, so let's do so now. He writes, discover pure comfort and style with our master bedroom designs. Turn your bedroom into a cozy retreat with our curated selection of furnishings. Explore now and make your dream bedroom a reality. And then there are lots of links and the software combination being 3ds Max and Chaos Corona. Presentation is a bit of a mixed bag, Abbas, because on the one hand, you definitely put effort into this. You didn't just write, my recent work and then call it a day. But on the other hand, it's very self-promotional and very oriented towards getting clients. And remember, we're in this educational community here. So when you put in the time to describe your project, then please do so in regards of the community here. So describe the bedroom, describe your goals. If it was a commercial project, what did the client want? What did you do? If it is a personal exercise, what were your goals? Stuff like this, and not you're not getting clients here. You're becoming a part of a community which supports each other, learns from each other. So try please to contribute to this. As for the image presentation, it's quite good. We have varied angles and actually great visual consistency. So let's take a closer look. This will be a quick one because it's not a big project. But nevertheless, it's very pleasant bedroom design in my opinion. It's cozy, but it's also functional. Contrary to Amit, I'm actually a fan of those abstract lines behind the headboard. It's a matter of taste for sure, but to me they break the monotony of those strict straight lines. And actually, because we have curvature. If you ask yourself, where do those curves come from? Well, the lamp has this circular elements to it. We have this ottoman here. We have this lamp as well. We have it also on the ceiling spots and the ceiling fan. So it's not that foreign actually, and I personally like it. And actually seen like this, the opposite side to me is almost too strictly organized and design-wise kind of monotonous. Also, the next thing, the closet. I'm not sure if it is actually convenient to use because it's quite high. You must see that the second row, the upper row, is already higher than 2 meters because this is a door that we have here. A door is usually at least 2 meters. So this starts at 2 meters and is probably at around 3. I know that there are solutions like this. In such cases, you gotta use something which is called a closet stick bow or a closet hook in order to be able to take out your clothes and put them back in. But it works, so it's just a question. Let's say how comfortable this is. Modeling wise, the project actually seems quite solid. Everything seems to make sense in both directions. There's a good amount of detail. Again, I'm missing a bit the transition between floor and wall. So either baseboard or a grout, you know how I am, but yeah, I always recommend this. The assets that you have used, you look good, have a decent quality to them, go together well. I like this. Materials look fine too. There's a pleasant color scheme. It's ideal for a bedroom. This is a laid back room where people come to rest. So having these suiting colors is the right decision in my opinion. Lighting wise, we have a pleasant mix of diffuse, natural and some warm, nice artificial lighting. It may not be very atmospheric, but in this case, it's fitting the bedroom atmosphere because again, it's more about getting rest, being calm and so on, winding down. And I think having such a laid back lighting setup is okay with this. Still, I always encourage everybody to experiment more with lighting. We saw the project by Douglas. Definitely recommend you the Archivist Masterclass by Nikos and Chaos because you get a lot of inspiration when it comes to these topics there, and you may make your images look even more unique in the end. Framing wise, I don't think we need to discuss them. Both shots work. We have classic central perspective, which fits the space. The framing works, the cropping works. So yeah, very solid work, Abbas. Just in future, improve your descriptions to be less self-promotional and be more project and group oriented, and everything's fine. And yeah, we reached the 2-hour mark. I'm sorry for that, but again, today is a bit of a special episode. This is why it's a bit longer, and we will end this one with this last project that we will review in a pretty unusual way. So let's hear what Jubair has to say about it. I'll just check the comments quickly. Nico says, thank you so much, Theo. Really appreciate your feedback. It is my pleasure, dear Nico. Okay, back to Jubair. Minimalistic bedroom design 3D and visualization by UV Studio, so Jubair himself. It's done in SketchUp, V-Ray, Chaos, Vantage, and Photoshop in 4K resolution. The images took 2.5 minutes to render. Yeah, lucky people who have Vantage at their disposal. Good description, software combination plus some tech info. This is cool. The image presentation is also okay. It's visually consistent. This is given, but the angles are kind of pretty same-ish. So you could be a bit more varied in this regard. Now, review-wise, I told you that we would do it in an unusual way. As stated, as Amit actually gave it a long, detailed feedback, I will actually read Amit's review instead of, I'll just duplicate this one, put it on the side, and of course it's gone now. This is just the way it is with a live show. Just give me a second until I can see the project once again. And what I'll be doing is I'll be reading Amit's review and actually commenting on it instead of doing the stuff on my own. This is actually pretty cool. I very much enjoy something like this. We can do it more and more in the future. You just write the reviews and I read them live during the show. This will diminish my preparation time to just probably half an hour. Nothing against it, but all jokes aside, Amit gave this project a great, really detailed review. So let's take a look at those reviews because I just mentioned them, but let's see, are they good? Are they not? And also, if I agree or disagree with something, doesn't mean that this is the ultimate truth. Just let us take a look at the project right now. So Amit says, okay, come on, man. Amit says, hi Jubair, indeed it's a good minimalistic interior design with a cool theme. The bedroom does look lively and a place to live in. I agree with this. Few points of consideration are as follows. First, certain areas of the room are overexposed, which needs to be corrected. In the first image, the portion of the bed facing the camera is a bit too much angle-wise and distance from the camera-wise. Also, because of the indirect light below it, it looks flat with no depth in it. Hi Jubair, Jubair just joined us. I absolutely agree here. First time I saw it, I just thought that the bed frame is lying on the floor and it just has no contact shadow whatsoever. But there is actually a light if you take a look at the second shot. But the way it is framed, you cannot just comprehend that there is a light there and it just looks wrong. Also, I very much agree with Amit. This part here is too massive to be the very first shot. This is something that you actually don't want to show because nothing happens there. It's like 1/4 of your image is just a plain white space. You definitely don't want to do this. So here I fully agree. Second point, the mattress is a bit too small with respect to the bed. There is quite a bit of a gap in the front and the back of it. Usually the mattress is just right to fit in the section or sometimes oozes out a bit for it to fit tightly into the space. This one I also agree with. Usually this is the case. There are exceptions, but they don't really look nice and they don't feel nice as well. You know, people don't only use beds for sleeping, and if you have a mattress that doesn't fit in completely every time you do whatever you may also do in your bed, it won't feel nice because the whole mattress will be moving back and forth. Next, the golden curtains geometry looks low poly and the imperfection texture is also too prominent. Correcting this would make it more realistic. I mean, that maybe it's not the best asset out there, but I don't have an issue with both in this regard. But again, maybe it's a bit more of a personal, a matter of taste. Okay, let's see. Fourth point, I didn't find the position of the hanging lamp that appropriate. Might be you can shift it to the other side of the bed. So I think that Amit is referring to this hanging lamp here. It could be on both sides of the bed, that's for sure. In my opinion, we have something like a makeup table here, judging by this small stool here. So having a bright source of illumination by it is actually a good idea. So I have no issue with the lamp being there. Next, the imperfection texture on the dressing table is also a bit too much. I reduce it a bit for realism. It's about this one. I also find it to be too much, like it's very weathered. Also on the side part of the tower of the dressing table, I think there is a light leak of some sort. It looks unusual. This is what Amit is referring to, and this was kind of confusing, I gotta admit as well. I don't know where this comes from, but you maybe really gotta check this one out. Sixth, if the bed has storage on the sides, then try to use chamfer modifier on the doors and the bed as well for softer look, as the entire bed is looking too sharp. Not only if it has storage on the sides or not, as we talked about it previously, always use some kind of chamfering or smooth edges or round edges or whatever you have at your disposal in your software. This is done in SketchUp, so there is no chamfer there, but there are plugins for rounding edges, or there is V-Ray round edge where you can just round your edges so that they're not so sharp anymore. Try to reduce the overburning of the ceiling indirect light. Definitely agree with this one. This is way too strong. 8. The third and fourth shot can use some depth of field for them to look real. This is the third shot, and this is the fourth shot. In the fourth shot, as the mattress and the rug are so close to the camera that their textures are looking weird and low resolution. The rug texture is looking like a tree bark texture with little extreme bump and displacement. So if it's a no-no if you want a close-up shot without using depth of field. Absolutely agree with this point. Definitely, or generally speaking, you need good textures, not low-res ones. But when it comes to close-ups, you definitely need high-resolution textures. If you don't have them, you can at least try to hide this fact with depth of field. So 10 points to Amit here. 9. The sixth shot is also the same. Make use of depth of field. This is the sixth shot. Make use of depth of field for this shot. Also, the imperfection on the TV unit is extreme and is visible because of the bright light. Try to reduce it and try to adjust the mattress texture. I don't find the imperfections here extreme. To me, the TV looks nice. I would even add some bump to it so that it's not so perfectly flat. But the depth of field, definitely. 10th, the AC unit looks too slim for my eye. I don't know whether it's because of the angle or something else. Try to recheck it as well. I don't know. I think that you, Amit, come from a country where AC units are way more popular than they are here. We in Germany, and it's not a joke, are too poor for AC units. Almost no private home has them. It's only public buildings and office buildings that have them because electricity is quite expensive. So using them is quite expensive, and people here have radiators or they open their windows. So I'm not much into AC units. I know that there are some smaller models, but I cannot, I'm not competent on this topic. 11th, try to give the fan geometry motion blur. This would increase the realism of the shots. Always, fans with motion blur look always great. All this feedback is not to discourage you at all, but to improve your images and project in a better way. So kindly take them constructively and keep rendering. Amit says, the bottom of the overhead unit has extreme imperfection texture. The bottom of the overhead unit. Oh, okay. Man. Okay. Yeah. I would only add the framings. You definitely need to improve your framings, especially on the final shot. Here you have poor tonal contrast because you have it here and here. On those two objects, they immediately become eye catchers because of the high contrast, but they are absolutely not essential or important at all. So this here is the wrong message. So maybe place the camera by the pillows, somewhere where actually somebody using the bed will lie down, and have depth of field on these blankets here and concentrate with a central perspective on this part here. But and when it comes to lights and light sources, let's stay at this shot. First of all, they don't always correspond. You see, you have an IES profile. Obviously, there is a spot lighting up this image, but there is no spotlight on the ceiling. And on the contrary, here where we have a spotlight, we don't actually have a visible light cone or some kind of a profile like this. Yeah, generally speaking, I see that you've put a lot of effort into this project, and that's a good base to build upon. But you need to do some reading and experiment a lot and watch videos, tutorials, everything you can get your hands on when it comes on composition, framing, photographic rules, and when it comes to lighting and the creative lighting, compositional lighting, so that there is a certain hierarchy to your lighting, so that shots like this don't happen, because this is really a bad shot. It doesn't there is no hierarchy here. I don't know where to look at. Everything is kind of too bright, but there are also good shots like this one, for example. Just make sure to use depth of field when you have objects that are very close to the camera, that are not of importance, and I think this will help you improve and get your images to the next level. And yeah, keep it up, Juba ear. I think this will be this will work. I see Amit says the bottom of the overhead unit has extreme imperfection texture on the TV unit image. Yeah, okay, that's okay. I agree with this one. That's okay. I agree with this one. Okay, and once again, Amit, as I have you here, big shout out to you and to everybody else in this group who nurture the community with constructive feedbacks, providing tutorials, sharing this, or being active, helping others. You are the reason we become a great community. Keep doing this. It pays off, and it's great to have you. And with this, it only took us 2 hours and 12 minutes to finish this special edition because of the beam, because of the event in Berlin. I hope I didn't bore you, but to me it was a pleasure to share all of this with you, my impressions from the event, but that we also talk about what's happening in the group, the recent events, news, tutorials, learning, and also to go through these projects which were very interesting to talk about. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. As usual, I had great fun hanging out with you. Amit says, thanks Theo, and thanks all who motivate us to give feedbacks and learn from it. Douglas says, bye Theo, have a good day. I definitely will. The last 2 days were a bit stressful because, again, I was absent from the group. I couldn't do much in it, so I had to prepare everything, including the presentation, within the last 2 days. So they were a bit long, and I'll have cold drink. Jubair says, thank you very much, Theo, for reviewing my renders. I'm very grateful to your feedback. As soon as I'll try to correct all the points that you're saying. Yeah, most of the points are actually Amit's points. I agree with most of them, and I just added those other 2 topics. Again, do a lot of research when it comes to lighting and to composition, because this is actually the biggest issue with your works, because the rest is actually very, very solid and good. And with this, my friends, I will wish you to stay safe, be healthy, have a good rest of the week, or good 2 weeks, until we meet again at the same time in 2 weeks, same place and time. Rock on. Bye. Have a good evening. Ciao.